up on this episode of Up for Debate, we are talking the games of the Olympiad. That's right, your favorite Olympic sports, from judo to handball, from no longer cricket to no longer croquet. We're going to talk about all of them, even the former ones. It's going to be an exciting show. We hope you stick around because it's time for Up for Debate. This is Up for Debate, episode number 57, recorded August 11th, 2016. The games of the Olympiad. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Up for Debate, the show that always goes for gold. I'm Sean Jennings, joined as always by our master of ceremonies, our judges panel, our gold medal winner, Matt Mariani. What's going on, Matt?
How's it going, Mr. Sean? Always a pleasure to do this podcast with you.
It's been a little while. No, it hasn't.
It has been a while.
It's been a couple weeks.
I feel like it's been a stretch. It's definitely been a stretch.
Because I was out of the country. You moved.
I did.
We've been
I relocated.
In case you couldn't tell, Matt's old generic bedroom from his current generic bedroom.
Yeah, that's right. And I feel like I'm facing a different direction. I don't
Maybe.
know.
Are you like a bird and you could like
north is
magnetic
yes,
north?
Sense in my brain due north, and it's somewhere else.
I always
Definitely.
thought you were part bird. That makes perfect sense.
Yep, it's one of my many talents.
Being part bird.
Being part bird. I think that would probably net me some gold medals in the Olympics. What do you think?
I think that's juicing though. I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
Yeah. Taking bird hormones? You're saying I should stop taking bird hormones?
They test for that stuff now. You can't just do that.
I guess you got to make sure you get the right bird hormones, though. You don't want to take like turkey hormones.
And then you'll just be slow and
good at drowning in the rain.
Good at drowning in the rain. I'm already pretty good at that. All right, Matt. So we were talking Olympics games. By the way, before we get to that, it's been quite a while, as we just discussed, several weeks since we last checked in with the 2016 Summer Movie League. And I think it's only fair to the folks at home that we give them a fair check-in on how things are progressing.
They're all dying to know how we're doing.
And they should, because it's exciting. So if you haven't been watching before, here's what you need to know. We are playing in a Summer Movie League. That means myself, Matt, Colby, Dan, and Mike all drafted movies a while back. Way, it seems like forever ago. And we earn the box office dollars those movies make domestically. And the person with the highest total gross of their movies at the end of the summer, which the end date is, I have it written here, the 9th of September. Oh, no, the 9th of September. Sorry. I forgot what month it was.
Yeah.
9th of September.
We still have to count for Pete's Dragon.
Well, we do. And, I like to give, my rule is 4 weeks after the last movie's released, because, Finding Dory is still making money. I mean, some of these movies are still making money. So, we want to be fair and give Suicide Squad a fair run as well. So, would you like to know how you're doing, Matt? How everyone's doing?
Did you see Suicide Squad?
No, I did not see Suicide Squad. Sure. I'm not a big DC guy, and I'll probably catch it at some point. I do. Maybe this weekend I think I'm going to watch Batman v Superman, because I still have not seen that.
See, here's the problem with our podcast. It's called Up for Debate. We have this tendency, Sean, where we agree too much, because I, too, am not very much a DC guy. I think in the world of comic book heroes, I would lean more towards Marvel. Just happier. They're just happier. I don't really need to. I don't want to delve into that grit and griminess that you get in the DC universe.
I would almost peg it a little bit, and of course, on our Olympics episode, let's talk about comic books, but I would peg it a little bit towards our generation, to be honest, because we grew up in the era of peak Marvel, in the 90s with comic books, in the 2000s with movies. DC, not really their super strong suit in that time. They had a few blips, but not like Marvel.
Well, when were those Michael Keaton Batman movies? Well, I guess there was just the one, or maybe he had two.
Yeah, the two with Keaton. The first one was 89, and so the second one was probably 91 or 92.
Our generation kind of missed that, like a little bit, because
Yeah.
we were way too young for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But
I mean, we grew up on. What's interesting to me
Spider-
is Spider-Man, X-Men was very big in the 90s.
Yep.
What's interesting to me is now we're seeing a big rise in DC animation, as well as DC heroes on television.
Yeah, that is true.
So in another 5 or 10 years, we may see another generation who has grown up on those things and may see an uptick. The movies certainly I don't think are going to help. But we'll see. They're making a lot of money.
Mark Hamill's Joker was pretty good.
Mark, great example. I mean, their animation, I'm told, is very good. Now, I don't really watch cartoons anymore, but I'm told their animation is very good, so I'll take their word at it. Let's see. When it comes to the draft, here we go. In 5th place, Dan Miller, $437 million. He is the only person with a movie still outstanding, Pete's Dragon. So hopefully it makes an insane amount of money. Otherwise, it's not looking great for him because, Matt, you were in 4th place, $610 million, led by the massive haul. I'm looking here at the sheet, the 4th or 5th highest grossing movie of the summer, Secret Life of Pets, which I think was a bit of a surprise. It's actually the 2nd best bargain in the entire draft. Because you only paid $9 for it.
Go ahead and tell us what the best bargain was.
No.
As if we don't already.
No. I may have paid $9 for the Jungle Book and gotten about, $50 million more out of it.
Yeah.
Colby is in 3rd, $623 million. He just got above you guys with Jason Bourne and Star Trek Beyond, which just came out in theaters. In 2nd place, coming from last all the way up to 2nd, Mike led with Ice Age Collision Course and Course Suicide Squad, which had a big opening weekend last weekend, and he'll continue to make some money from that at $756 million. And in 1st place, with $1.1 billion, this guy
who happens to be the commissioner. Don't you always love that? Folks at home, don't you always love when the commissioner's in 1st place?
We got a real Donald Trump over here. I'm just saying. Look,
I don't
make
have
your own
the facts.
conclusions.
I'm just here to bring things up.
I'm just pointing it out. Listen, once again, I will point out, there's nothing sketchy going on. I had the second, I had the highest grossing movie of the summer, by the way, Finding Dory, which made $70 million more than Captain America. So, as I tweeted to Dan the other night, Finding Dory alone made more than all of Dan's movies combined. So, just saying. So there you go. That's your movie draft update. We'll be continuing through the 9th of September. You can check it out on our website, upfordebatetv/draft.
All right.
Okay, let's get to the real reason we're here, and that would be Olympic sports.
I just thought of something.
Okay. That
So
usually ends well, yes.
if you took bird hormones and then participated in the Olympics, you can call them the Crow-Olympic Games.
Okay, on that note, let's continue on. That falls. That is. I've got really nothing to say.
The Crow Olympics, just like a whole full on bird horns. I think the only real sport that'd give you an advantage in, I think, is probably would be swimming. I would think, because you have the wingspan. That would be fitting you.
What about like discus?
I don't think birds have like tremendous physical strength. It would be more the agility and speed aspect.
So like gymnastics, balance.
Okay, yeah, all right. That's much better than. Well, I think swimming you'd have an advantage, but I think the gymnastics games would probably be the best.
You know what?
Comparison. Golf. Birds. How would birds be good at golf?
They'd be great at golf. It's a no-brainer. They lay eggs. Golf balls are basically eggs.
All right. Now you're just being silly.
All right. Let's talk the Olympics. Matt, as you may know, we're currently in the middle of the Summer Olympics. There are. Do you know how many sports are in the Olympics?
I'll venture a wild guess. I'll say 27.
You'll say 27. That's not a bad guess. 28. 28
Oh,
sports. So you're very close.
I was so
You're
close.
very close.
All right.
But that's the number of sports. That's not the number of events. For example, in the single sport of athletics, is what they call it, there are 47 medalable events,
47.
including all of the various running. So the 200 meters, 400 meters, 800 meters, 1,500 meters, 5,000 meters. There's the high jump, the pole vault, the long jump, the triple jump, the shot put, the discus, the hammer throw, the javelin throw, the decathlon. That's just for men, and then they double it up for women. They give out a lot of medals at these things. It's kind of insane, and frankly, we can talk about this now or later, I think there are too many sports in the Olympics, to be honest. I really think it's kind of unnecessary. Listen, I get everybody wants to have their sport in the Olympics, and nobody wants to be the guy to take them away. You may not know this, Matt, but for this current Olympics, they tried to remove a sport to make way for a new sport. That was going to be their policy, right? We're not going to add anymore. We'll take one away, and then we can add one. And they voted to get rid of wrestling. And then they protested, and then not only did they put it back in, they also added the new sport.
What was the new sport?
So for this current Olympics, they added, they re-added, actually, golf and rugby.
Okay.
Golf had previously been an Olympic sport back in 1900 and 1904, and rugby had had never been an Olympic sport before.
Here's where, I definitely understand why sports like soccer and rugby would make it to the Olympics. They're sports that nations across the world participate in, and you have a lot of common ground among fans and players alike. But I'm just of the opinion that those sports kind of should be left to their own leagues. Like, there's no need to bring them into the Olympics. Like, rugby already has an international game, and like soccer definitely has a million international
Cup,
games.
sure.
Like the World Cup, the UEFA Cup, the FIFA Cup, the North American Cup. There's so many. So why does it also need to be in the Olympics?
Well, now to be fair, I would say nearly all, not all of them, but a vast majority of Olympic sports, I believe, do have some kind of world championship. Swimming, all the swimming events have world championships. Gymnastics all have world championships. Now, of course, they're not as popular, but they do have them outside the Olympics.
They do exist, yeah. I'm just stating that opinion because why? I feel like the Olympics themselves is really a chance for some other less popular sports to get their place, to get their viewership, like the track and field, gymnastics, swimming. I feel like those are events, like they're quantifiable events that you go from point A to point B. If you're the fastest, you get a gold. If you're the second fastest, you get a silver.
Mm-hmm.
Third fastest, you get a bronze. Like that's there. I think every event in the Olympics should be like that. Should be like a quick kind of show of endurance and demonstration of strength. But when you get to games like soccer and rugby being part of Olympics, I feel a lot of the times they try to add rules or take rules away, and they kind of morph the game into so they fit like the Olympic. It's like the Olympics rules of rugby.
Basketball does that like crazy.
Yeah,
like a lot. They're what they do 10-minute quarters instead, and the 3-point line is closer, and it's very different.
Exactly. Yeah. If they want to do something like that, then I say just change the sport completely. Instead of calling it basketball, call it Olympic basketball, and like that it is now its own sport. And I don't know, I like, and then, but I don't know, having sports that are already on TV and already are being watched elsewhere as part of the Olympics, I think it doesn't really do anything for me. I have no interest in watching watching these sports
I'm-
on the Olympics.
I mean, what's the difference between the Olympics and all these sports having world championships?
I guess the difference would be that these medals are going towards your nation's total. At
Right.
the
It
end of the
all
day.
happens at the same time. It's a historical pride. It's a nation pride. It's different winning a world championship versus winning a gold medal. They are not the same, and that's because we've gotten to this point where we've raised the Olympics to such a peak in sport. There is nothing higher. The Super Bowl is not as big as winning an Olympic gold medal. It's just not. As much as people you want to debate that, it's not. It's the Olympic gold is the biggest prize in sports. There is literally no higher prize. So it's not surprising that every sport wants the opportunity to win a gold medal. I get that. I want to win. If there was one for podcasting, I'd be like, great, put it in. I want to win. I get that. I think it's ludicrous to ask a city in the span of 2 to 3 weeks to hold this sheer insane amount. They have to build an entire kayaking course just for kayaking and canoeing. It's so impractical. That's not even reusable. Like, it's so impractical.
I think that's one of the main problems, right, with the Olympics being hosted by a country, is that a lot of these courses and stadiums are falling into disuse. I mean, they're falling into disrepair.
They're just abandoned.
Their lack of use, yeah, they get abandoned. A good example is one of the stadiums they built in China is like just decrepit now. I'm sure more than one, but
oh yeah, Athens is famous for this. They just have left just everything. It's just all this concrete that's just busted up, and it's sad and it's a waste. But the problem is, what sport do you start pulling out? Because I'm looking at the list here and I'm like, there's got to be a sport in here you want to pull out, but then you're like, well, why is it? That's what happened with wrestling. It's like, how's it fair that you pull one sport out but not another?
Right. Now, the problem with pulling wrestling is that wrestling is definitely one of the mainstays of the Olympics. Like, when the Olympics were first, even before the modern Olympics, the ancient Olympics, the wrestling was part of that package. Like, Greco-Roman wrestling has been around for longer than the Olympic Games have been around themselves. So I feel like pulling that would be an injustice. And but I don't know. I mean,
well, maybe this will help you because this is interesting. So you may not know this. I think most people don't know this. The Olympics people make a lot of money putting out, like, not the city, but the Olympic organization, the IOC, makes a lot of money, right? NBC paid over $1 billion for the TV rights. I mean, they make money. A lot of that money goes back to the sports. They actually go to these respective sports to help them come and to do the whole thing, right? In order to figure out how much, not every sport gets the same amount of money, the Olympics actually divides the sports into categories based on popularity as gauged by television, viewing figures, public surveys, ticket requests, press coverage. And they actually rank which sports are important and which ones aren't. Would you like to know, it's categories A through E, which are the most and least important sports in the Olympics?
Yeah, go
Maybe
for it.
you could guess. There are 3 sports considered category A, the most popular and important sports. What sports do you think those would be?
The most popular and important, we got to start with swimming.
Absolutely.
I feel like
Aquatics, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Swimming's pretty big.
Yep.
How about I feel like discus is up there. Like,
well,
I guess
think
discus, javelin,
bigger categories. Track and field, athletics.
Yeah.
Yes, that is category A. There's one more.
Okay, so the last one, running.
Well, that's athletics.
I guess that's part of track and field.
Yeah.
Is there a marathon or?
That's
I'm
part
not
of
that
athletics.
It's also part of athletics.
Again, that's 42 different events.
Diving is also part of aquatics.
Yeah. Just if you've watched any of the coverage lately, I mean, what do they show in prime time?
Oh yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I've been going off it. feel like I'm missing a really big one here.
You're missing a giant one. The U.S. just won a gold medal and a silver medal in it today.
Oh, gymnastics.
Gymnastics, yes.
Yes.
Those are your must-have sports.
All right.
Beneath that, category B, which is cycling, tennis, basketball, football or soccer, and volleyball.
Okay.
Then there's category C, which is archery, badminton, boxing, judo, rowing, shooting, table tennis, and weightlifting. So your mid-range. Then your kind of less important D sports, canoeing, kayaking, equestrian, fencing, sailing, taekwondo, triathlon, wrestling, handball, and field hockey.
Wow. Is equestrian really still part of the games?
Absolutely. Actually, there's several equestrian events, dressage, eventing, jumping. There used to be vaulting. They don't do that anymore. And then the category E sports, which are the least popular or new sports, pentathlon, golf, and rugby.
Wow, rugby's all the way at the bottom, huh?
Well, because it's new.
Yeah. Is this the first
This is the first year.
Olympics in our lifetime that have had rugby? First ever.
The first
I don't
ever
know.
for rugby, yeah. Like I said, golf is new as well, but they did golf for 2 Olympics in 1900 and 1904.
Wow.
So golf is back as well. Yeah. And they're adding 5 more sports for Japan, by the way. 5 more.
Yes, they are. I wanted to bring that
Matt, you're breaking up on me.
to the games. What?
You were breaking up there for a minute.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. I think there's a bit of a lag and a delay, but we'll power through it.
Yeah, that was bizarre. I think
it's been doing that all episode.
Too much. Yeah.
But it just got really bad there. But all right, we'll power through. No, the IOC voted to add baseball and softball, karate, sport climbing, surfing, and skateboarding to the 2020 Olympics.
Yes, I wanted to talk. I was saying while I was being broken up that was my big talking point for today. Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk about these 5 new games that they're adding.
Sure.
So first off, the softball, baseball kind of fits in with that category of sports that already exist, that kind of already have meaningful championships. And we can take this one even a step further because there's the baseball World Classic that occurs every 4 years and features the countries that have big names in baseball: USA, Japan, England, Mexico, Cuba, all those countries are featured in the Baseball Classic. So that's essentially already the Olympic Games of baseball right there. But I guess, like you said, winning a gold medal is kind of the pinnacle of sports achievement. That being said, I mean, it's good to see softball getting its props there. Mm-hmm. But again, I think that kind of it fuels this stereotype that I really don't like in the sports world, that softball is just the female version of baseball, because that's kind of exactly what it's doing. I don't know for a fact. Maybe they're going to have a men's softball team competing.
That would be neat.
And a women's baseball team. I think that'd be awesome.
I would watch that.
I think that's really cool. I hope they do that instead of just treating softball like it's some kind of female alternative to baseball, because it's really a completely different game. Did you know, for example, that in softball there's one more field position added to the field? You have I think it's called a I forget what they call it, but it's somebody who's basically like the shortstop behind the shortstop. Like, you have the outfield, you have the infield, and then there's one person in between the outfield and the infield running around.
I think you're mistaken.
It's like an extra play.
I don't think that's right.
You don't think that's?
I don't think that's
true?
I think you were at a softball game once and a streaker ran by and you assumed that they were playing on the team.
Yeah, that could have been it.
I'm a little suspicious. I agree that I don't believe baseball and softball should be added, but for a different reason. And that is because, again, there are too many sports and it's too taxing on cities to host this many types of sports. if they wanted to take, like if they had a 25-meter diving event and they wanted to add a 50-meter diving event, okay, fine. I mean, it's not that much extra effort to just put a higher platform, right? How do you reuse a baseball diamond? You have to come up with enough baseball diamonds, by the way, to have multiple games going at once.
Well, yeah, this is why it would be obviously no problem for the United States, right? We have tons and
Well,
tons of baseball stadiums. Not only major league stadiums, we have college baseball fields. We have baseball fields all over the place. We have lots and
right.
lots. That's provided that the United States hosts the games. Now, the country where these implementations will be taking place, Japan, in 2020, one assumes that they have already
Oh, sure. That's
probably an
why they
adequate
pushed.
amount of
That's
baseball
why they
diamonds.
pushed to add it. Absolutely.
That's why exactly, and it's a very popular game in Japan.
But,
But
but
looking beyond the Tokyo 2020 games, we would have to find countries that have ample baseball diamonds, and I think a lot of countries in Latin America, you probably find plenty of baseball diamonds there. It's an incredibly popular sport there. And South America too.
well, do you
But
know? I will tell you because I knew this and now I have to relook it up. The 2024 Summer Olympics. Do you know what the candidate cities are?
no,
Tell me if any of these cities are known for having great baseball. Budapest,
nope.
Paris, Rome,
Oh boy,
and Los Angeles, which we'll give a pass to because
okay.
they'll make it work. But yeah,
Could squeeze everybody into Dodger Stadium.
I mean it's kind of ludicrous, and it's the same.
So
But it's the same
yeah,
for
of those countries right there, yeah, that
sport
you're
climbing.
gonna definitely run into problems with baseball and softball
How
for
do you
those countries.
and how do you
Now,
even score sport climbing? I'm sorry, I don't mean to get distracted.
so yes, climbing is one of the new sports. Sports
But
climbing. I wanted to ask you about that actually. I was not entirely clear what a
okay,
sports climbing event would entail. I feel like now that's a sport I think that could be very interesting to watch. And in terms of scoring, I would see it. You do it one of two ways, if not a combination hybrid of the two. You'd have a committee of judges that would grade you on the form of the climb itself. Whether you're hitting the right stations in the climb, or whether you're not. However your form is when you climb. Sort of like an ice skating, almost like if your form is good, whatever. Like you lose points if you fell, or you could have just a traditional race to the top and just see like who can get from the bottom to the top of this cliffside, or what. I'm not sure if it's going to be an artificial cliff or a natural cliffside. Like who would get to climb the actual structure fastest. And I think I like that second way better.
um,
'Cause I don't know anything about the form of a climb.
Wikipedia is of zero help in explaining to me. Okay, here we go. In 2020, competitors will take part in 3 disciplines: lead, speed, and bouldering. Would you like to know what those are? Lead is
Yeah.
the most common type of sport climbing. They climb a long, difficult route designed and set by the route setter and attempt to reach the top. Their performance is determined by the highest hold reached and whether or not that hold was controlled, meaning they had a stable position on that hold. They consist of 3 rounds: qualification, semifinals, and finals. In the qualification round, competitors climb 2 similar routes, meaning there's there's a lot more here than that. But yes, essentially they climb a difficult route and their performance is judged by who gets the highest and how well they do it. Then there's speed, which, as you can guess, is a race. The climbing time is determined by mechanical electric timing. And then there's bouldering, which consists of climbing without ropes on short walls. Falls are stopped by mattresses. Okay, that doesn't sound right. It's marked by high difficulty concentrated into a short route, limited competition time, and close proximity to the spectators. That sounds exciting.
Yeah,
If
I'm reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
The competitor's score is determined by the overall number of routes sent by him or her and the number of attempts needed. So there you go.
Yeah, interesting.
That seems like a really stupid event.
On climbing.com,
Good source.
they're all abuzz over this. They're quite excited over there at climbing.com. They're saying that it'll feature 40 climbers, and it's going to go over the span of 4 days. That's interesting. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know how. It's very confusing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very confusing. I'm sure they'll have a little info session with maybe Ryan Seacrest will explain what's going on when the games happen.
Yeah, I will need some help explaining that one because it seems kind of.
I love the reason that the head of the International Olympics Committee gave for adding climbing. Well, climbing, softball, karate, and surfing, and skateboarding to the list. When he added the new games, he said that we basically we want to make these sports accessible to the youth, and basically this is what the kids are into. So this is what we're gonna throw in there. Like the kids are into climbing, I guess.
Yeah, that is a strange one. So, Matt. We have
Mr. Sean?
We have a question from the audience, our live audience on Facebook.
We have an audience. All right.
We do.
I kind of forgot we were even doing a podcast.
Okay.
We were just having a conversation. So what do they want to know?
They want to know how a city is chosen to host the Olympics.
Well, that's a good question.
Do you know the answer?
I know a very vague shell of an answer that I could probably give while you Google the real answer.
I already did Google the real answer.
All right. Well, do you want me to explain my vague shell of an answer?
Yes, I do actually. I want to hear how close you get.
Sure.
So you go ahead.
All right. So all these countries get together and they're all like, who wants to host the next Olympics? And they have a committee. The committee's formed. And they look at stuff like, okay, is this all right for the country to host these games, or are they going to have some trouble? Obviously, that part doesn't really happen because then Brazil wouldn't have gotten the chance to host this year. And then the country that really wants to host the Olympics takes out of their checkbook and says, here, Olympic Committee, like, here's a lot of money. Take this to the bank and let us host the Olympics. And the head of the Olympic Committee grabs the check and he puts it in his pocket. And they say, oh, you know what? It looks kind of awesome. Brazil looks like a great place. Let's have the Olympics in Brazil. And that's how a country gets to host the Olympics.
Wow. To be honest, in reality, you're probably closer than what I will explain in paper.
It's all.
Yeah. So this is kind of how it works. So first there's the application phase. Any city can technically apply to be part of the Olympics. Now the problem is each country usually has some kind of board or organization that limits it. So for example, the United States can't put forward 10 cities. The United States Olympic guys usually choose one. So in the past, United States have put forward bids. All these countries can put forward bids. They submit an application. The IOC then scores them based on a number of things in that application, like political and social support, infrastructure, available venues, the environment, accommodations, transportation, security, if they've hosted in the past, finances. They give them a number, and then 4 of the 5 highest rated applicants move on to the next phase, or I guess the 5 highest rated move on to the next phase. At that point, that's usually when they get the logo and everything looks all nice. They look at things like, hang on, I gotta go back to a different article. They go through different stages where they talk about, they first start with their vision, concept, and strategy, so kind of the overall piece. Then they talk about governance, legal, and venue funding, so the numbers. And then lastly, delivery experience and venue legacy, make sure it actually is going to work. For example, in 2016, the following cities were put up for bid. Chicago, you may remember. Qatar put up Doha. Madrid, Prague, Rio, of course, and Tokyo. And they were all scored. In this case, Tokyo actually had the highest score. But it's at this point that they actually go and then interview them and go through the application. And then they actually vote and elect them in 3 rounds. The city with the lowest round each time gets eliminated. But they only vote on a subsection. So, for example, in 2016, they only voted on 4 cities. Rio, Madrid, Tokyo, and Chicago. Chicago was eliminated in the first round, which some people thought was, more to your earlier point, maybe a little sketchy, but okay. Tokyo eliminated in the second round, and Madrid eliminated in the third round for Rio to win the opportunity to host. Does that kind of answer the question? It's a very long process.
It's a very bureaucratic process. I didn't know there was so much that went into. There's so much.
A lot of paperwork.
Desk planning that went into that.
Yeah, it takes many years. That's right now they're doing. They're accepting applications for 2028. So, they do it quite far in advance.
Yeah.
So.
The Olympics.
Hope that answers your question. A fan on Facebook whose name is Colby. And thanks to Colin. I don't know if he's still watching, but he commented on Facebook a couple things. One, oh man, Japan is going to be sick at baseball, and I agree with that. And also that tennis is pretty hype this year, and I got to say I have not heard that because I don't really care about tennis.
Is tennis an Olympic game? Is that part of
Believe it or not, it is. A game that has several international championships every year is part of the Olympics.
Yeah, see, I think that goes against the principle of those games. I feel like leave the games as pure and as natural as you possibly can. And then give the hype to, like, the World Baseball Classic. Because if you have, like, this is what ruins soccer. Well, many things ruin soccer. But this is one of the things that have ruined soccer. There's so many tournaments and games and championships and leagues, and it gets confusing, and that's why that's just one of the many reasons that I cannot get behind soccer. And I know there are people out there who agree with me. Yeah. That when you have all these tournaments and championships in like an organization of games that are supposed to be like discus and swimming and triathlon and decathlon and like the raw athletic, just like who can get from here to there faster, who can throw this big rock farther, who can like just I guess the word I'm looking for is individual.
Yeah, so you don't like team sports.
I like team sports. I don't like team sports in the Olympics.
Okay.
The closest thing to a team sport I think that should remain in the Olympics is something like a relay race.
Yeah.
Relay race is fine. That falls under the track and field. It's a very traditional game.
What about volleyball?
Volleyball has only 2 people.
No, not indoor volleyball. That's what, 6-8 people?
That's team. Yeah, that's got to go. That's got to go too. It's a team sport.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful. So doubles tennis?
Archery should remain, but as an individual competition.
Okay. All right.
Instead of archery. Rugby? Get rid of doubles tennis.
Rugby's going to go. Rowing? What about rowing?
Make an individual rowing.
So just rowboats?
Yep, just everybody's in their own little rowboat.
I'd actually totally watch that. Field hockey?
Yeah, it's got to go.
That's got to go. And
awesome.
Yeah, we've talked about badminton, doubles.
I mean, that kind of goes without saying. Should that have ever been added in the first place?
Whoa, whoa,
Should that have
whoa.
ever been added in the first
Hang
place,
on, hold the
Sean?
phone. Time out. Hold the phone. Badminton is one of, if not the greatest sport in the Olympics. And I don't even know why you would even begin to suggest anything but that.
All right. It's an entertaining sport to watch on YouTube.
But
By the way,
hang on.
I'm sure I haven't tried it yet, but badminton fails. Probably a great search to do on YouTube.
Fair enough. Listen,
Anyone's looking for something to do.
this is coming from the guy who says we need to represent underrepresented sports, and I cannot think of a more underrepresented sport than badminton.
I can think of probably 3.
Okay,
But
go ahead.
go on. Go on. Badminton. Why does badminton need to stay in the Olympics? Your case.
Because it's really important. There is no representation of badminton elsewhere in the sports community. Badminton, by the way, which has been an Olympic sport dating all the way back to 1992, is I just
Quite frankly, I'm amazed at how badminton was ever included in the first place. I would read a book. I would read a book that highlighted the process that the Olympic community went through to add badminton to their sports catalog in the early
actually
90s.
in 1972 it was a demonstration sport in Munich, so it does date farther back. Just saying.
The 70s. Look, I'm willing to put up with golf being in the Olympics just because it fits the criteria of being an individual game and it's been played since the early 20th century in the Olympics. For me, that's far enough back to render it a classic. By the way, do you know which city hosted the first modern Olympic Games?
And this is, I swear to God, this is not looking. I believe it was, okay, now I'm confusing myself. It's either Greece or Paris. I'm not sure. It's one of those
Greece is
two.
not a city. Greece is a country.
Okay. Well, one of them.
I would assume you meant Athens.
Athens, sure.
Paris.
It was Paris.
It was Paris.
Okay. It was Paris.
Paris. They hosted the first modern Olympic Games.
And Matt,
I want to say 1896 or 98, something like that.
It's 98, I think.
98.
Do you know what city has hosted the Olympics more time than any other?
Is it also Paris?
No, although Paris would tie the record if they're awarded the 2024 Olympics.
Is it Athens?
No.
Ooh. Huh. I would have guessed it would be one of the two. London.
London, there you go, has hosted 3 times, which is the all-time record.
Yeah.
Indeed. I'm sorry, I'm clicking through to the list that gives all the fun facts about where all the Olympics have been held, which I read for fun because it's interesting. Yeah, London has hosted 3. As well, the country that has hosted the most games, by the way, America. 4 Summer Olympics, 4 Winter Olympics.
That's right. They can't get enough of the red, white, and blue.
You know it. Although we hosted some pretty shitty ones, so
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Remember was it the Salt Lake City Olympic Games where they had those crazy uniforms?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Google the uniforms at the Salt Lake. I feel like they were worth commenting on. Now, I have an interesting gripe. I'm not sure if we have time to address it fully, but I would like to bring it up
It's our show. We
nonetheless.
can have as much time as we want. You go for it.
That's right. I feel like the Olympic Games, a lot of the sports are really, really westernized sports. You have a lot of
Like judo.
Eurocentric an American center, not like judo.
Like table tennis.
These are terrible examples. You're countermanding my point. I know what you're doing.
Okay, no,
But
go ahead.
I feel like they need to add more Eastern sports. And what better sport than to add for the Olympics than that sport, which name I can't remember, but we featured on our Bizarre Sports episode where they play volleyball with their feet.
Yes. Oh, I was also thinking, though, of the one where they have to climb the pole with the people, or they have to tip the pole over. That was cool, too.
That was a great sport. That was I think, in Japan.
But then I think if they add that, then they have to add Quidditch.
No, they don't. They don't have to add
fair.
Quidditch. Nobody has to add Quidditch.
No, that could be
not to the Olympics.
Imagine winning Olympic gold in that. Just think about it. I think it'd be pretty neat.
I think that'd be really funny. I mean, being a gold medal seeker.
Yeah, no, that does sound pretty shitty.
I never got, and I think we did talk about this in our Bizarre Sports podcast. How come when you catch the snitch, the game is over, but your team does not win? Like there was an actual scenario in one of the Harry Potter books, where a team caught the snitch, but the other team won because the snitch only gave you a certain amount of points, and it was not enough to beat the other team.
So why would you catch it?
Exactly. That's my point. Why would you? I guess you're really trying to time it so that you catch it when your team is ahead, because catching the snitch automatically ends the game. Right. That's how you end the game.
But what you're describing sounds like an own goal kind of situation where you didn't realize you were behind it that much, or
yes,
you accidentally caught it.
The books, the player caught it. I guess because that's the seeker's job, right? Is to catch the snitch.
Sure.
Because I think she kind of wrote the snitch in to be like, this game is basically basketball, but with broomsticks. We need to make it somehow magic-y. Not basketball.
Yeah.
And that begs the question, why don't they amend the rules of basketball to have a guy in a golden penny run up and down the court while one specific player is assigned to try to catch him?
To
end the game.
We did an episode where we talked about gimmicks to get people to watch baseball games. That sounds like a great gimmick that an NBA team should use.
Yes.
Because I would go and I would love to watch, Draymond Green chasing a guy in like a gold spandex outfit around the court for a little while. That might be fun.
And not just around the court. How about he can also go into the stands and run around with the audience?
Harry Potter night.
Wow.
First 1,000 people in the stadium get a broom.
That'd be fantastic.
It's once again the promotional efforts of the Mariani Jennings agency.
We're good.
We're great.
I picked the wrong career. I should be in advertising. You picked the right.
I should have been in teaching.
Wow.
Whoops.
Career swap.
That I'd be an awful teacher. No, Matt, because I think we've got to start beginning our wrap up here. But I'm going to pitch an idea here on how to save the Olympics, because I think they need saving. And I think you and I are the only guys with the brains and the know-how to save it.
Let's face it, you're probably right.
All right. So here you go. Here's how you save the Olympics. It's very simple. More Olympics.
What?
We hold one summer, and we'll just say summer for now, one summer Olympic Games, the Olympiad, every 4 years, right? And we cram 28 sports, well over 150 events, into 2 weeks once every 4 years. That doesn't seem very practical to me. I think we should have a Summer Olympic every 2 years, but only do half the sports each time.
Sort of like a teaser Olympics?
No. It's 2 Olympics with half the events each, and you organize this way. One city doesn't have to build all of the infrastructure for all of the events.
Share the burden.
And you organize it where like events can be at the same time. So all the ones that use a certain color.
I think that's too much Olympics. I think that's too much. I can barely handle this every 4 years.
But you
I
can't
don't know
handle it because so much is happening. What if it were just
too
one
much.
week every 2 years? That's not that much. Or you could do 2 weeks
I liked
with
your
less
idea
coverage.
I liked your idea before, where we just build an island and have the
That was a good
Olympics
idea.
on an island. Did you
Olympic
say that on
Island.
the show? That was on the. I hope that was on the show.
No,
Or was that?
I said it on the show. And I've said it before
Yeah.
to people. I still think that's a pretty legit idea.
Sean wants to build an island somewhere in the middle of the ocean
Just
that
to
is
hold the
specifically
Olympics.
designed just to host the Olympic Games. I think
It
that's
can
a
be
great
its own
idea.
country, and that way it's international, it's fair.
I mean, the Olympics already have a flag. That could be their flag. Its own military protecting it from the inevitable invasion of probably Russia.
kind of like the Vatican. Same idea.
Yeah.
A country in a country.
That is a country within a country.
Yeah.
But I think the Olympic Island, which we should obviously name Olympia, would exist just on an island. And it would be the perfect location for the next James Bond supervillain.
It was all.
Can you imagine that? He takes over the Olympic Island? Wow.
That sounds like a Lex Luthor plot right there. Yeah, I think that's good. I don't know how you can keep. There's got to be enough events where the weight of it implodes upon the Olympics. I just don't.
It's become extremely impractical. Yeah, it's becoming extremely impractical for any modernized nation to think of hosting the Olympics because it's such a. What's the opposite for a money maker? A money loser. It's such a money drain. Yeah. It's a big money pit.
Well, and it's
money.
I mean, we saw Boston was actually selected by the United States to be their representative.
They said no.
And Boston declined.
Get the hell out of here.
Well, no, the state declined. Really, I mean, there were people in Boston who wanted it, but they realized what a boondoggle it was, and that's why Los Angeles is now the bidder. And I think the only reason Los Angeles did it is because when they hosted in what year did Los Angeles host in the 80s?
It was 80.
Because it was pre-Barcelona in 92, so it would have been 80. Was it 88? Because Atlanta was 96, right? So maybe it was earlier than 88. Was it 84?
Your ability to remember Olympic dates mesmerizes
It was
me.
84. Yeah, I'm looking at it right here. Yep, in Los Angeles. They made money on that, believe it or not, because of really smart planning and organization, and I think that's why they want to do it again because they think they can.
Yeah, that was the strange. I guess the exception to the rule that actually wound up being the poster child for future nations to want to host the Olympics was Los Angeles.
Yep.
Yeah,
they reused all their stadiums and they were very smart about it, and.
Yeah, that was the thing. They were smart about it. They actually found uses for these infrastructures that they built. Now, granted, that was a time when Los Angeles itself was expanding, so it actually was going to build much of these things anyway. And you look at Los Angeles now, and it's a traffic nightmare. But
it's. The thing about a city like Los Angeles is it has nothing to prove. I mean, that's why you see countries like Rio, like Russia, like Qatar, bidding for the Olympics is because they either do or think they have a lot of cash. For some countries they do, for some they don't. And they're willing to shill it out to put themselves on a global stage, or at least this is what they believe. Because nothing does that like the Olympics does. And if it goes really well for your city, you're forever known as that great city. I mean, you think of some of the more successful Olympics, Barcelona and Sydney, and if you have a successful Olympics, you're kind of forever known for that. So I get why cities want to do that, but I think that's the point where Los Angeles comes in as a city that actually doesn't have to build shiny new stadiums because they have nothing to prove. They're just more interested in hosting good games, not being a shining beacon on a hill. And that's, I think, what kills these cities that try to host the Olympics.
Yeah, and the problem that we're seeing this year with Rio being the host, I think that the Olympic community is sort of pandering in a way to try to get quote unquote non-traditional locations to host the Olympics, like Brazil, who's never hosted it before. You had China, who had never hosted before. Now you're going to have Japan, who's never hosted before. Like
No,
you're
that's
getting.
not true. I think Japan
Has
has
Japan hosted?
Actually,
Right.
Japan's
I
hosted four
think you're.
games:
Yes.
summer in
I think you are.
'64 and winter in '72, and most recently Nagano in '98.
But has Tokyo ever been the host? The host city?
Yes, in '64.
64 it was the host. Yes, I remember there. I didn't know there were four, but I remember there had been one where they had
Uh,
hosted. So they're trying to get a lot of countries that have. So Japan is a bad example, but
well,
China, Rio,
well, I don't think.
even Sochi in Russia, they're trying to get a lot of locations that have not been the host before in locations that you would not really think about. It's the same reason they had the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup in South Africa previously. But the problem is that these locations are just not equipped yet to hold these games, to host these games. They're just not the infrastructure is just not there.
Right.
And to try to force them to build venues and infrastructure to host the games, I think is just not fair. It's just detrimental to the economies of these poor places.
It is, but I think that again, that's why you're going to see reduced, essentially competition for these for cities to host these games. Because I agree, I don't think there's going to be a big interest in doing that. Frankly,
I wouldn't be surprised to see India host the games in the near future.
No, I would be surprised actually.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Because I don't think because they're not as flashy as some of these other countries that are bidding. So, for example, the 2018 Winter Olympics, 3 countries bid. Just three. Germany, France, and it eventually went to South Korea. And if I remember correctly, and let's see if I can find it, for 2022, even less cities bid, I think. Yeah, only 2 cities bid. Only 2 cities bid, Matt. 2 for the Olympics. And one of them was Kazakhstan. And so, unsurprisingly, it went to the one other bidder, which was China in Beijing. So, Norway was supposed to bid for it, and they voted to pull out, and they did. So, I don't know. They got to come up with something, and people have pitched.
I think they really have to come up with a more conservative response to hosting the Olympics in terms of fiscal conservative. You just can't build these stadiums and just let them go to waste.
Well, that was one of the things they had pitched for Boston when they were trying to save the Boston bid. Was people were saying, okay, well, let's go back to the IOC and say, well, Boston will host the Olympics, but we got to do a reduced event Olympics. We can't do this many events. We just can't. And obviously the U.S. IOC did not agree to do that. So.
And they lost the bid.
So,
So, I mean, how about this? And they kind of already do something like this. Instead of having a city be responsible for all of the games, and I know there are a lot of games. Aren't there a lot of games in these Olympics? I'm not an Olympic expert, but aren't there like games that are held outside of the host city, but like still in the same country? Like, wouldn't you have like the boat race is taking place in like maybe not in Beijing. The boat race is in Shanghai or someplace.
Well, it is interesting because
outside of.
So the World Cup, for example, they spread those around. I mean, sometimes you have to travel an hour, 2 hours to get to the various venues.
Yes, all right. Maybe that's what I was thinking.
In the Olympics, they tend to keep them much closer.
That's what I was thinking of the World Cup. Then I think that they should take a page from the World Cup and have the host. There can be a host city, whichever city you choose, and that's where you have the opening and closing ceremonies. Light the torch there, extinguish the torch, have the whole show, and then you use the other cities in your country to share the burden that way, and have like archery take place. If U.S. is hosting, archery will take place in Chicago, or like the boat races in Boston, and like the diving contest is in Atlanta. I mean, I know that puts a strain on the tourists because they're not going to want to travel
Well,
that
no, it
far.
puts a strain on the athletes. I mean, yeah, I just I agree. I think that's an okay idea. I don't know if you can go as far as bouncing between Atlanta and Chicago. I mean, that might be a little much.
Example. Yeah.
But I just
But
don't.
have cities in the immediate area, and then that way you can build a stadium, you know, in rural areas far outside.
But the problem is someone
Of
still has to pay for it. Someone still has to pay for it. And if it's not coming out of one state's pocket, it's coming out of another. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. It's a decent idea.
You have to find the land to even put the stadium.
Cost-wise, it doesn't help. I think it does help if you're talking about really urbanized cities where there aren't a lot of space, and instead of mowing down poor houses to build a stadium, maybe put it outside the city. Okay, that I agree with. In terms of cost, I don't know if there's an advantage to doing it that way. I honestly, again, if we're not going to build Olympic Island, then maybe we should just have a rotating list of 5 cities that just have the infrastructure.
Yeah,
and it's just always those
it's
5.
already existing.
That's
one kind
each
of
continent.
what we're seeing anyway. I mean, China's going to host the second Olympics.
Los Angeles is going for their 3rd. London's done 3.
Mm-hmm.
That.
Yeah, we're already kind of seeing that happen.
That's
that
okay.
rotation list.
I think that's okay.
And yeah, I'm totally fine with
Why does
that.
it have to be in a different city every time? I think that's kind of unnecessary. We have Colby Rabidou commenting on live on Facebook here. 2 things. 1, volleyball is great. I don't care what Matt says, and he's 100% right. Volleyball is great. Colby, you may not know this, was an amateur volleyball player for like a week in high school.
Like a week.
And he says he likes the distributed Olympics idea.
Hey, I love volleyball. Fan Colby, don't get me wrong. Volleyball is awesome. I'm trying to eradicate all of the team sports from the Olympics. I'm trying to get them out.
I think of everything we pitched, including Olympic Island, that is the biggest, boldest idea, is just to eliminate team sports.
To wipe out all the team sports.
I think Olympic Island is probably more likely than.
Because I think that defeats the purpose. Isn't the whole point of the Olympics individual achievement and representing your nation but acting alone as an individual?
No.
I thought that was the whole point of the Olympics. But then again, Jamaica has a bobsled team, so.
And hang on, Matt, we try to be incredibly factually accurate here on the show. We genuinely try, so I have to issue an important.
Does Jamaica not have a bobsled team?
Up for debate correction. No, they actually did have a bobsled team. No, Colby Rabidou actually played volleyball for an entire year. So wow. I apologize. I must have missed his induction into the Volleyball Hall of Fame. I apologize. So
they should put him on the Olympic team.
I shouldn't really piss off our one fan. That might be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Well,
I love volleyball, Colby.
Volleyball's
great.
Listen, all the sports are great. I don't disagree with that. Honestly, if my takeaway from this is we need to do a better job promoting all the sports when it's not the Olympics. Like, yeah. I would like to know when the archery championships are on. Why isn't ESPN
exactly.
showing this?
That's all I'm saying is these are sports that need they don't really get their dues anywhere else. So the Olympics is kind of like where they get their due. It's where it's their time to shine. And then I think rugby and soccer are coming in and kind of taking it away from them.
But we talked about
archery deserve their props, man.
We talked about this in our last episode, the future of entertainment. I think in a world of increasing entertainment options, I think it's even harder for these smaller sports to get attention, and that's why the Olympics are so important, because you have the largest spotlight in the world focused on one place for 2 weeks. The badminton is going to get noticed, and the only time, because in a sea of options. Colby says, what if they split up the Olympics into more smaller Olympics? That was my idea. Yes, that's exactly what they should do. Instead of doing it once every 4 years with a zillion events.
That's too much Olympics. It's too much.
It's
Too much
not,
Olympics.
though. It's not. There is no
4
such
years, like
thing.
I said before, 4 years is already too much Olympic. They should. It should be one. It should be every 10 years. It should be every decade, and because that makes it more special. Yes, it's more special when it's done every 10 years.
Absolutely not. That's garbage.
And then more people will watch.
Here you go. I think they should also split up the Winter Olympics and then just do
4
one
years.
each year. Summer, winter, summer, winter, summer, winter, but not repeat events until every 4 years. You know what I mean? So the first 50% of summer, first 50% of winter, second 50% of summer, second 50% of winter, and then you go back to the first 50%. And you cycle it. Every year, Olympics.
That's
I love it. I can't get it.
Way too much.
There's
Olympics.
a Super Bowl every year.
Yeah, because the Super Bowl is awesome, and it's mostly marketing. As a marketing person, you should love the Super Bowl.
As a marketing
because
person, I love the
Super Bowl is
Olympics.
all marketing.
Have you seen how many commercials
The
there
Olympics is also tons and tons of marketing. Yes, it is. But the Super Bowl, it just does it better. The Olympics, it's just too much. Too much Olympics. Too much.
There can never be too much.
Did you know, fun fact, poetry used to be an Olympic competition?
I don't think that's right.
Look it up.
I'm literally looking it up. I don't think that's right.
I think it was poetry and essay writing. Contestants could medal in poetry and essay writing up until, I want to say, like the 30s or 20s. It was a thing.
So was Highlight.
So was Highlight. What is Highlight again?
That's the one with the curved hook. We talked about this on our weird sports episode. The one with the curved hook and you whip the ball really fast. Look, we're being watched on the big screen by one of our fans at home. Matt, are you there? Oh no, I think we lost Matt. That means we've been talking too long. Are you there, Matt? Matt? Can you hear me? Buddy?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. That was weird. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, you just stopped
Okay.
for a minute there.
That was really weird. I went into some kind of time warp with it was bizarre. You kept saying the word and it would go into different frequencies, and I wish I was taping it. I don't have my phone on me. Nothing can ever beat, though, the time when Dan said "but" over and over again.
That was pretty fantastic.
But. That was great.
Matt, we are out of time. So no more.
Yes, we
the
are.
Olympics are over. Just tune in again.
Did you ever explain what highlight was? I missed that.
Yeah,
I was
it's the one with
still stuck
with the curved hook paddles, and you take the ball and you whip it at the wall.
Oh, yes. Yep. Yes.
Highlight.
Okay. Yeah.
Matt,
So
the good news is, in 2 years, we'll get to come back and do an episode on the Winter Olympics.
That'll be fun. I'll bring my parka.
We can talk about bobsled and curling and speed skating and downhill skiing. I don't think there's uphill skiing, but they just keep adding sports, so I don't know.
Do they still have the one where you ski and shoot a rifle at the same time?
Oh, I love that one. That's one of my
That's
favorites.
awesome.
The biathlon.
Yeah. The biathlon, yeah.
That is a great
That's
one.
a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about fishing? Fishing should be a sport in the Olympics. Ice fishing for the Winter Olympics.
No. Come on. No, enough is enough. Please. I can't. You're the one who says there's too much Olympics. We do not need to add.
There's too much of this boring Olympic.
Let's add auto racing. Why can't auto racing be an Olympic sport?
No, because that's dumb. Why would auto racing be part of the Olympics? That's the driving a car is not a sport. It's just driving a car.
Oh, but leaving a hook in the water till a fish eats it is a sport.
Because you're wrestling the fish.
Oh
It's literally man versus nature. There's nothing more primal than that.
Just go watch boxing. It's the same thing.
And who said anything about fishing with a fishing pole? I was talking about a harpoon.
Oh, I thought you meant bare hands. I thought you had to reach in
No,
and grab
spear.
it.
Like you're out and spear the fish.
Absolutely not. But you know what? I'll send an alert to the IOC and see what I can do.
All right.
Very good. Well, thanks
I
everybody.
guess it's still up for debate.
It is still up for debate. Thank you. See, gee whiz. We're always up for debate here on the show. Thanks, everybody out there, for joining us, especially those of you joining us live. We do this Thursday nights at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, on the internet, on our Facebook page facebook.com/upfordebatetv. Go there, like the page, and you actually get a nice little alert when we go live. So that's like the easiest way to follow us. And as you saw, if you comment, I watch it during the show. We might bring it up. We might talk about it. We're interactive. We love to get folks involved. But if you can't watch live, it's okay. Relax, because we have a website, upfordebatetv. If you go there, you can get all of our past episodes, audio, video, every episode we've ever done. And you can also subscribe on a number of platforms, including iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, TuneIn Radio, via RSS and most major podcasting apps. Video on YouTube, 720p HD. It looks great. Colby was watching on his big screen. I mean, come on, you can watch us on your Matt. You got a new TV. You can watch the show if you want.
Got to see this face on a big screen.
Well, it doesn't look good because you've been jittery and stopping the whole time.
Lucky.
So maybe not this episode, but a different one. You can watch the video. It looks great. And you can also follow us at Up for Debate TV on Twitter, and you can email us upfordebatetv@gmail.com. If you have a topic you would like us to discuss, or you have feedback on something we've already said, post on one of the social platforms or email us. Anything else, Matt, before we conclude?
Less Olympics, more Olympic ice fishing.
Okay. I would say, I think tonight we've won the gold medal in podcasting. No, silver medal.
Maybe the bronze.
Maybe. All right. I think we finished.
We played.
DNF.
Placed.
We did not finish.
I think we placed. Did not
disqualified.
Yeah, we got DSQ.
Oh, you know what? And I'll also mention very quickly, GameNights.tv. We just did New Dungeons and Dragons, so go there. You can get it on the website, GameNights.tv. It was really fantastic. I thought I had a blast. It was really fantastic.
Yeah, it really was. That was a fun time.
And then
what a way to come back from a long break.
Yes, and I'll even double down because you definitely have to watch this week's, because this week's episode is good. Next week's episode is fantastic, and you got to listen to this week's to get next week. So at minimum, you definitely got to listen this week. That's my recommendation. Okay, we got to wrap up because we're running long. On behalf of Matt, I'm Sean, of course, but you already knew that. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll definitely see you next time for even more exciting debates here on Up for Debate.